So since last lesson, I just added this small area right here for add users, the users list, and there's a small plus button so we can add new users. Let's figure out how we actually built this. So step one, I went into the app component right here, and I added a small router link for the auth list, which is a new route I just built for users. So that's the button you see right here. That button, I went in and I created a new component for that, and I did that by going into the auth routing module and adding a new path for that one for the list auth user component that I just built, so that you can, when you click this, you can see this component right here. That component is very simple. It's just an HTML set right here where I just put in an H1 and H3 and a button. So that's what you're seeing right here. So that's all I did since last lesson, but that's actually not what I'm going to talk about. What I'm going to talk about is going to be about the token that we have, because I experienced a pretty annoying thing, and that was that my token actually expired while I was working before. Now, we didn't test that anywhere, so we don't protect ourselves against expiration, and that means that if you go into product, all of a sudden you're just going to get an unauthorized exception right here, even though you think you're authorized. I want to get rid of that in the UI, so I want to make a way so we can protect ourselves if we are unauthorized in the UI because the token has expired. Then I want to kind of log out, and I want to show the login page again. So let's start out by talk about the token itself. You can see the token on the storage. If you go to local storage, you can see the token. There are different ways to get there in the different browsers. This is Safari, but there's also always a way to kind of find the local storage in your system. And here's our token. And inside the token, if I just open that token, I just want to talk about that first, because the token is actually not secure in any way. I can take a token and I can actually decode it. So here's the encoded token that I just copy pasted right here from my page inside the local storage. I just paste that into this JWT token encoder, decoder, and there I can now see everything inside the token actually. And this is the stuff I want to talk about, the payload itself. Because here we actually added expiration date, which means that my token is going to expire 11/13 today. So it's a 10-minute expiration I set up, and we're going to kind of make a way to test that inside Angular. So the first thing you need to understand again is that don't put anything in the payload for a token you don't want to show the world, because anybody can take your token and kind of decode it like this and see what's inside it. And we're going to do that in Angular now, and we're actually going to decode our token and use that timestamp right there. So let's figure out how we can do it in Angular. I'm going to go in and use a package called JWT Decode. There's a lot of other packages that can do this for us, but I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to install it first inside my project. So there we go. I'm going to do an npm install to kind of get that started. Let's just run that installation right here. And then I'm going to go into the auth guard, because that's where I want to use this. Right now we have a very, very simple way to kind of manage if our token is okay. Right now we're just asking if it's there and if it has a length above 0, meaning that pretty much if I went into my browser and changed this to a length like this, it's still a valid token. And of course that's not true. So let's just put in the right token again. I'll just copy it from the decoder right here and put it back in. Of course it needs to be a proper token. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and jump into our code again, and we're going to change this so we can instead figure out a better way to validate our token. So let's just start right here by changing the way we actually validate the token. So what I'll do is I'll just say is token valid. That's a method I make, is token valid. I'll pass in the token itself, and I'll make it a local request right here. So I'll say this dot to kind of make a method for this. This is going to either return true or false. So let's just put in a question mark right here. If it returns true, then we're just going to return true as well. If it returns false, then we're actually going to return this new route right here. And let's just keep it at that for now, and we'll just return this. I just want to get this part, I'll just cut that, and we'll move it into the new method, and let's just get rid of the rest of it, like this. So let's just create this new method, Alt-Enter, and I'll create this new method. Now the first thing again I'll do is I'll say if the token is not there, if it's not a token, meaning it's undefined, or the token length is less than or equal to 0, then it means I want to return false, because this token is not valid in any way. So let's just return false. The next thing I want to do is I want to say if there is actually a token, then I want to decode it. So let's try and go back to the browser and figure out how we can decode a token using this new package. It seems we need to import the JWT decoder. Let's just do that. Import it up here. The second thing we need to do is just use the JWT decoder to kind of decode our token. Let's do that. I'll do that down here after I've validated there is a token. I'll decode it, and I'll just make this into a const like this. So now we have the decoded token available. Now with the decoded token, there should be a few things in there. If we go and check out a decoded token, there should be expiration, issuer, and audience available now. So I want to go back to my code and actually make these available as an interface. So out here, I'm going to make just an interface like this, and let's just code it decoded token. Decoded token like this. And that's just going to be an interface with, for now, let's just put in the expiration as a number right here. Now, the reason I'm going to make this interface is because I want to be sure that when I get the decoded token, it's automatically going to convert that expiration date into a string or into a number right here. So I'm going to convert the token by saying as decoded token, and now I actually have the decoded token right here. And that means that now I can say decoded.expiration like this and get help to kind of get that expiration in there. Sweet. Let's continue. And the next thing I want to do is I want to return if right now, so we can say date.now, if right now at this current time, if that is less than or equal to the time that the expiration date is, then I'm going to return true. So if right now is less than the current time, the expiration time, then I'm going to return true. But you need to know that the decoded token is actually going to be returned in seconds, where this is going to be milliseconds. So I just want to multiply this by 1,000 to get it into milliseconds instead. So now this is actually going to return true if the decoded expiration date right here is actually after the current time. And it's going to return false if the current time is after the expiration date. I've been waiting a little bit and I know the token is now expired. So let's try and go and refresh our page and see what happens. Boom, we get redirected to the login page, but we didn't log out. So we're not quite there yet. I also want to log out. So let's just change our code a little bit more. So when this token expires right here, I want to log out. So we're going to change the code, and what we're going to do instead of this is actually we're going to, first of all, go and get the current token from our auth service. So let's say current token like this, and then let's just get that token from the auth service. So they will say this.auth.getToken. There we have it. So now we have the current token. And then I'll just make the second request right here. It's just that we're going to, and let's make it a couple of lines, is valid like this. So const is valid equals, and let's just get that token in there. We'll just pass in the current token. So now we know if it's valid or not. Now that we have is valid, we can say return, and we can say is valid question mark. And if it is valid, what we want to return is just going to be a statement of true like this. The reason that I put in the off is because it needs to be unobservable. So there we go. Now we return true that everything went well. If it's not valid, I'm actually going to ask the auth service to log me out. So I'm going to return logout from the auth service. Now I'm going to add a little bit to that by using the pipe, because I actually want to say if I log out, I also want to redirect myself. So I want to just pipe this guy and I want to add in a tap. Just mean that when we try to log out, I'm actually going to just tap into the data. And then what I want to do is I want to redirect myself when we kind of have logged out like this. So that I know that's a little bit weird way to kind of do this, but I'm going to say if everything is valid, I'm just going to return it true. If it's not valid, then I'm going to pipe myself and I'm actually going to map, sorry, not tap. I'm actually going to map and change the data that's going to be returned, and then I'll return the router, meaning the URL tree, when I'm actually done right here. So there we go. And now we actually have a way, hopefully, that we will be redirected as well when we kind of figure out that the time has expired. So 10 minutes have expired. Let's just try and go and refresh. And there we go. We were just redirected to log in and our token was removed. So everything is working as expected. We might have some bugs still, but let's figure those out as we move forward. Right now, I just showed you guys how to use a token. Sorry for the long video. There's a lot going on, but now you know a little bit about how you can use these JWT tokens to also figure out their expiration date. See you next time. Bye.